Okay, give me a few seconds. I'll just tell everyone that we're live. I don't care if I piss people off when I enter, everyone. I'm here to... God sent me to piss the world off. Anyways. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll give it a couple minutes, obviously, and then we'll roll right into F3 because with Jess and
just
James,
two drivers.
there's
Should
just
be
two
like
drivers. Yeah.
Shouldn't be a long race, anyways, right?
No, it's only 15 laps.
Cool. That'll give some people the time to get in, get comfortable. We don't have much to talk about for F3.
Yeah, there's not going to be much to talk about right away.
So for anyone joining us, we will start with Formula 3. There are only really two drivers that we have, so everything else is bots, but let's give them a shot anyways. It'll give people a bit more time to join us. And I mean, we are live with qualifying, so best of one lap.
Yeah, so the two we're going to be watching, obviously, are going to be Pablo and Driver.
We'll see how they do. So what kind of track is Italy?
So Italy is going to be a momentum.
Sounds good. Do we have any drivers that we're on the lookout for today? I mean, yeah, we do have Pablo and driver here, but like, let's also talk about F2 and F1 real quick.
Yeah, definitely. Just give me 1 second and let's just give a shout out there to Driver who qualified 11th.
Well, you driver 11th and Pablo 2nd.
Yes. So we're just going to kick this one off right away. We'll go over a little bit of the rest of the field and the other races here in a second.
Mm-hmm. Well, you okay if we get a third broadcaster?
Absolutely, can fire him in.
Give me a second. Leatherneck Mike is going to join us for the F2 and F1 races. But yeah, Pablo, I mean, he's got an update in. Makes sense that he's fighting for the lead. Although, does clip the grass, penalty grass, and yeah, you can see the very low stat field all over the place.
Yeah, like the biggest things you'll see here is you know, watching this race and then watching Formula 2 and Formula 1, how their driving is so much better.
Yeah, but I mean, you're using F3 cars on here, right?
Exactly. So they're going to be faster. The driver's attributes are going to be a bit higher.
Yeah, and you can see how they're taking like Parabolica, they're like, or any other turn one there, where like they're
Yeah.
going really out.
Yep.
But Maslov and Pablo, both from Hendrick, are in the lead. And yeah, looking pretty good so far. I mean,
You can scan back to
into
driver
this
here.
last race. Let's look where Driver is. Driver is in 17th place, so you know, bit of a rougher first outing for her, but
and with her just creating, she has all the TP there, just needs to apply it. That's all.
100%. And I'm sure that by the next race they'll be applied.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there we go. I had myself muted and deafened. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
So welcome to the broadcast room. As you can see, we have F3 going on at the moment, and it's been, it gives a taste for everyone for this race.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this. I was kind of wondering because we just signed James, Pablo Gotoya, or whatever his name is supposed to be. I think he filled out his form a little interestingly, but I saw that Jess Lady Driver created, and I was like, okay, well we have these F3 spots, and I get that. But what are they gonna do for the other 18? Like, how are we gonna do this? We're gonna have them do parade laps and like independent shows or something. How are we gonna do this in the week that we don't have a full F3? The way the recruitment's been going, so
correct. Yeah,
this is great. I like this.
I mean, at the same time, we do have to give them an opportunity to participate. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, hey, like I said, the way things have been going for us here, it ain't gonna be that long before we get a full field. So,
the way, like, honestly, we were surprised that we got a full F2 field, honestly. So we're very happy with it on this end.
Oh yeah, I was like following you guys staying on the SHL thread when we filled out, when you guys let me bring in the constructors thing, and we filled out F1. I was like, oh, this is great. And they'll figure out something to do with the development guys, and then we filled out F2 before the season started, and I was like, oh.
Well, and this
is going to be fun.
That's essentially what coming out with this, it was something that I was hoping to grow as the league grew, but the problem is that the league erupted right away, and we already had 40 drivers signed up. And so then it's just like trying to implement it across one group of drivers is one thing, but now you're trying to extrapolate that into two, and it's like, oh god.
Yeah, and the real challenge afterwards is, all these drivers are Season 1 drivers. What's going to happen down the road when all these drivers hit their peak at the same time?
Yep.
What's going to happen with the recreate cycle? It's, it's issues that a lot of them is going to be, we'll get to them when we get to them, but it's also an interesting concern to have.
Well, and that's why I held back.
At the moment.
Because I didn't create a driver for that. Well, partially because I wanted to see how this went, and I was doing so much. I'm in a few other sim leagues. My voice is probably recognizable to a good lot of people. And I kind of thought, what's a startup? And the other startups I've been a part of, inevitably there just happens to be, turnover. So expecting there to be turnover within the team, like, somebody, didn't have time to thought they did, whatever. So I'm going to lay back and create Season 3, and then in Season 8, when everybody else is, progressing a few years, I'll be at my peak. So I laid back on purpose as team owner, which I don't know if anybody else did. So I'll be really curious to see what happens.
We do have a few people. I mean, I'm holding back. Grum, who's the team owner for McLaren, also held back.
Oh, look at that! Top two.
We do have a few people.
Constructors owners had the same idea. How about that?
Yeah.
And it's gonna be interesting to see when we do create eventually, and what the cycle is at, and at what point.
Well, so much of this is so much fun because it's all just it's all just learning. whatever. Like it was great to see. Must be the fastest car out there last week, and F2 and maybe even F1 if we did get beaten up. You know, we're manufacturers under the hood there. Ferrari had such a great finish, all three of us.
Yeah.
You know.
Just quickly getting back to the race there, as
yeah.
Pablo is about halfway through his last lap. Of
Oh,
the
my
race.
apologies. This was 15, not 30. That's
No,
Yeah, so
This-
Formula 3 is 15 laps, and then
Okay.
Formula 2 is 24, and Formula 1 is 34.
and Pablo reaches and
his
finishes.
first win.
Let's follow driver who is currently in 16th place. Has the most pit stops out of anyone, but
Probably a lot of damage there, unfortunately, on that
Yeah.
car.
if driver applies TPE, I'm sure next race she'll do much better and will be able to be alongside Pablo to challenge for.
Yeah, I mean, Jess has
Wins.
literally full TPE, just hasn't applied it yet. As you can tell going around that corner.
Couple cars left to cross the road, and 7 seconds the broadcast for F3 ends anyways. But yeah,
Commercial.
a good preview for everyone else's race later on. I'll just be quickly taking the screenshots for this. Picks. Who's gonna do?
So I think what you can derive from the F3 race there, you saw a lot of people going off and having a lot of trouble. There's a reasonable amount of runoff here, and you can tell right away, you know, from this that runoff is a very, very bad thing. It's real life in that way in the Upper Formula Series. It is incredibly terrible
half,
to run off,
Quali?
and it's going to be that way today.
Oh, it absolutely will be, and especially going into those first couple turns there. I mean, that's also going to be your indicator there of damage too. So, between
We're
those,
good, by the way.
Yeah, sounds good.
So how have they profiled a SCOR? Is that runoff, or is that counted as track? Like the edges of a SCOR?
I not 100% sure I know the answer to that one.
I would have to see the track again. But essentially, anything that is not anything that's gravel is penalty. Anything that's grass is penalty. Curbs are fine. But yeah. But yeah, moving on to F2 real quick to talk about, last race I should say, we had Dadley from Hendrick Motorsports who took the win on a reaction-based track. This time it's a momentum-based track, something that will be focused on a lot more heavily by drivers, considering that it's, I think, the attribute that has the most amount of races this season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. In saying that, obviously we are going to be 100% rain on this one, which is the big discussion today. So, ideally, with those essentially with a 6 rating, they will be at a 3. Everybody with a 6 is going to be at a 3 because the most minimum increment is a 2, which is half of what your rating is. And so the question mark is going to be, is those with 5s, did they put in essentially enough to keep the rating at a 3 versus a 2? And that's where that question mark comes in when it comes to the track rating itself. But in regards to the race capacity here in itself, I mean, you're either going to have a 2 or a 3. So you're not going to see people at a 2 or a 6 or or anything in that regards, but everybody is going to be a 2 or 3 on this race.
Do we have any idea of who we should be on the lookout for? Maybe a couple names?
Yeah, actually, you know what? Here's what I'll do, because then we can nab those names right now.
I think it's always interesting. In terms of momentum, I think I see Steve and Wong, maybe?
Yeah, so Albano, Utah, Bingo, Steve, Wong, Venegas, Sile, and Vanderbiesen all should be at 3 this race.
Okay. So it might be a closer field than the previous race, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Sounds like we might have like 2 groups of drivers, the ones at the front that have 3 and the ones at the back that have 2.
Yep, and the thing to that, obviously, also is going to be, qualifying. You could see a 3 with only 1 lap. You could see a 3 qualifying back to back. And their ability to get up in the field is going to be minimal when you have to go through some of the turns that you have to at Italy.
Sounds good. Well, I think we've talked enough. Let's go towards qualifying. Now, a reminder that qualifying in F2 is a single lap, and qualifying in F1 is 2 laps.
Not the prettiest day for qualifying, unfortunately.
Not at all.
And they're off. Remember, these gaps don't mean a thing because everyone starts their time when they cross the line.
Oh, Albano caught dirt there coming out of the corner, coming out of that second chicane. That's going to spell a big trouble, especially how far ahead he was at the back.
But we do see, we don't know if that's the end of it, but like Wong and Bingo are ahead. Let's see when they cross the line, what it looks
Wong,
like.
Bingo on pole, Popcat, and Albano on row 2.
Yeah, so Wong from Bingo from Popcat, Albano 4th, Ray 5th, Miller 6th, Steve 7th, Vanderbiesen 8th, Maldonado 9th, Venegas closes out the top 10.
And there's Sayo, one of the 3-pointers that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
All the way down in 15. So he will have a lot of work to do to work his way back in that Mercedes.
And Dadley, our race winner from last week in Singapore, is now in 20th in this race. So, how the turntables. So some big names in the back. It'll be very interesting to see what happens to them in the race.
Let's do this.
Let's go. 4, 5, and we're off. Wong with a good start, followed by Bingo, who's being attacked by Popcat. Albano goes past, as well as Ray, as the Popcat does hit the sand trap. And Wong and Bingo are taking a bit of a gap here, followed by Steve, who is now in 3rd.
Albano got stuck around the outside of Ray through 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, wound up in the dirt many times.
Albano there in the parabolica.
Cannot
the
handle
position
it,
to
sir.
Utah, who is now in 4th for Aston Martin. Albano keeps making these mistakes, but is able to come back.
Everybody's going off at 1.
Vanderbiesen went off there. Meanwhile, there's a group of breakaways now with Bingo taking the lead from Wong. Steve slightly behind them, followed by Utah, Ray, Vanderbiesen, Venegas rounding out over there. A fast track, honestly.
Yeah, real fast track, but the great thing that Wong's done throughout the early first 3 laps is they don't go off. And that's really been the deciding factor here. Albano goes fast as he wants. He's got to stay on the racing surface. And there's Steve who goes off again. A slight penalty there for that blocking or something there for Bingo, and then he goes off again. So that'll give Wong an even bigger lead. This is a absolute runaway so far.
And what we're not talking about really is look at the health of their cars. Most of the front runners are really healthy, whereas some of the cars already in the 7, 8 range do have a bit of damage already, as we see Ray come in. And
about half the field is already pitted. Albano amongst them qualified P3 has already pitted. Popcat, who qualified up there P4, already pitted.
Yeah, and the previous lap, all these cars had already a significant amount of damage. This is the importance of qualifying.
One of the points to look out here is, look at Dadley. He's already up to 11th. Obviously, he hasn't pitted yet, but he's definitely made some traction here.
Once you get out of the beating and banging and things spread out, then you can see who's real fast. Sometimes you get into the beaten and Megan. You can't really see who's real fast or not.
Exactly.
You just see who can survive. And also, one thing I want to point out, the guys who just pitted for damage, if they can keep it clean the rest of the race, it's going to get interesting at the end because they pitted about lap 4 or 5. We got 14 to 20 laps on these tires, and that could be a little bit conservative in some cases. So, you could, in theory, get to the end on that wet compounded tire, and maybe, you could get somebody when they're trying to pit before to go.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing though is everyone is on wet tires, right? There's no soft wet tires and hard wet tires. So everyone is essentially running the same tire. So that kind of also cancels a bit the strategy, and it's purely up to the driver and the machine. But yeah, Wong and Steve are fighting for the lead. As Steve takes the lead this time around, Wong right behind him in his slipstream. Where is Bingo? Bingo is decently far away, as we did see that these cars have already lapped one driver, Mike Canders, who might be having a bit of a rough time with his race. Further down, I mean, Bingo is now in 4th, as Van der Buysen goes into the pits, and Gordon Jr. as well is now in the pits.
That's another earlier pit stop than you would really want there for Van der Buysen. A top 6 runner pits again.
He does come out in 5th place though, so it's not too much lost. We'll probably see the leaders, I'm guessing, pit between a lot laps.
Oh, Steve has just come, so that'll give Wong some clean air for certain.
Yeah, Wong right now is about 4.5 seconds out.
But Wong, Yuta, and Bingo also all have to pit. So does Sile, Andrews, Dadley, who is now in 10th, and Toth, who is also in, well, just overtook Dadley.
So what you're looking for here, if you're Steve and his racing team, you pitted a couple laps earlier that Wong did, so what you want to see is if you can possibly get an undercut going, see if you can run a little bit quicker while Wong's tires are falling off.
I mean, if we look in the top right corner there on the HUD, the wet tires are at about half health, so it wouldn't be too surprising if it's a one pit for some of these drivers up front.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely over halfway of the race.
It was a 24.23. Let's go to Steve real quick. I'm really curious to see what he ran last time around. He's on brand new tires. So he ran a 23.9, so there's about 0.2 in new tires, so they're just about the same.
I mean, rain is a great equalizer. I don't think fresh tires on a stable wet track are going to do much difference. If we're talking about, a drying track, I don't know if that's possible in the sim engine, but a drying track would probably change things. We do see more of the lapped cars going into the pits.
Yeah,
Andrews, Miller, and Ray.
That's going to help Wong more than anything else. Is anybody in front of him pitting clears the way for him, which is allowing him to keep this gap.
Steve is now in 2nd, though, and has already pitted, so we can take a look at the gap here and there. But Steve is in the middle of back markers, so that's going to slow him down a bit. There's also potential for damage by banging too much with the lap drivers.
Yeah, there's no blue flags here, folks. It's everybody acts like they're racing for a position.
Yep.
There's no gentleman's agreement here.
It does look like Steve's closed it by 4.5, though.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it at 5.4, and now it's 4.2. 3.6 now, so
it's really starting to close down. I mean, that last lap for Wong is 25.5.
Look at those tires on Wong, though. They're definitely starting to wear down.
Oh yeah, they're off a cliff. Can't stay on racing surface.
Yeah, and you can tell he's struggling getting around those corners. Right?
He's going off on almost every corner, sharp corner, so it has to come in now. Oh, he actually
stay out! Wow.
I mean, this is all in Steve's advantage in the long run. It's almost giving Steve a free pit stop.
I mean, it's there. He's down to 1.1 second left. Yeah.
And he's about to.
Yeah, this is a bad strategy call.
There's the overtake.
There's a big bump. Shoved him out of the way, just grabbed him and shoved him, and Wong still doesn't come in. Oh, no.
Maybe
What is
Wong-
Maple Stroop doing?
Maybe Wong's just trying to go wire to wire
Yeah,
here.
the tires last
Ill-advised
till
at
the end?
best.
This is
Well, they should still be able to pit clear, maybe of Van the Bison, possibly
Oh,
Vegas. Oh,
There
here
he
we go.
goes. Yep.
and now we have Bingo and Vanderbijsen passing by the start-finish straight.
Yeah,
Ooh.
so Bingo and Vanderbison, so that's Wong off a podium.
He does have fresh tires for 4 laps, but can he catch up? He's got a few corners, like both Lesmos, basically a whole straight to catch them up, with fresh tires, mind you. But
Well, but we saw that the new versus the mid-worn was worth about 2/10 on a racing on a track, and Wong has now a second and a half to make up to Vanderbijs to get back to the podium. 2nd and 7. So Vanderbijs is going to have to go off or something.
I mean, Wong is closing up on Vanderbijsen, their season. But I do feel that it might be too little, too late for him to catch with Bingo.
Let's see what happens with a back mark. Oh, you sent Vanderbijsen wide. Now Wong sticks it up the outside, and that's going to be the podium place for Wong. Got back. Thank you, back marker.
That definitely was aided by that back marker.
That is very unfortunate.
Wong is being very
Vanderbijsen.
aggressive, though, trying to catch up as much as he can to try and get a shot, maybe on the last lap. But do we see that he still has one more marker with a back marker in Popcat, who he's overtaken now the last second Lesmo from the inside. It's now basically a Bingo versus Wong for second place. Steve is off to the races.
Yeah, Steve still has a 5-second gap here.
And we can kind of follow Steve for the last little bit, and keep an eye out on Bingo and Wong. But Steve now at Parabolica, just the last corner and last straight, and Ferrari wins in Italy.
That was a very, very good drive. The Tifosi will be incredibly happy.
Bing
about
holds
that,
off Wong, takes second place. Wong salvages third place. Vanderbijsen, with some damage to his car, takes fourth. Utah will
comes
finish
with
fifth.
Venegas.
Then Venegas sixth.
Gordon will bring the thing home P7. A long gap back to Sile in P8. Not the race you wanted, although 15th still got points in the end. Sile in the Mercedes, P8. Bergen and possibly Miller. Vanderbijsen decided to cross the line again for fun and hold up Bergen on the way back.
And for the last point, Toth crosses the line. And then the last non-point getters. So Miller, Andrews, Albano, Dadley, who last to 14th. Pretty good salvage, but still no points. Wong does get the fastest lap, though, which I guess is, 1 point gained.
Little
An extra point
consolation for them. So a soaking wet F2 race leaves the finals this. Steven first, and then Bingo after from Wong, Vanderbijsen, Utah of the Aston Martin, Venegas of Maple Street. Good finish for Maple Street today, 3 and 6. Gordon Jr. of Hot Wheels 7. Sile of Mercedes, one of the big movers of the day, from 15th after quality to 8th after the race. Bergen in the McLaren, another really good day for the McLarens, 2nd and 9th Formula 2. South of Audra Racing in 10th. Tell you what, another good day for the Ferrari contingent. The
You can't go down, Willie. I mean, for me, the story of the race is not only the who won and who didn't win, but we have to look at who was leading the championship in points, which was Hot Wheels Racing and Hendrick Motorsports, and both of those did not score a single point today.
Yeah, and no show from HMS, absolutely whatsoever. Albano had a really good qualifying, then got absolutely slopped
Yeah,
the first 4 laps of the race, and Dadley was nowhere to begin with.
Yeah, Albano definitely got shafted going into those first couple of corners because he was shoved to the outside and not just to the edge of the track, but out into the sand.
Yeah.
The celebrations of one side of the garage is the dismay of another. Popcat qualified up front with his teammate and still wound up 17th after he shoved around himself.
Well, that is the end of the Formula 2 race results. And give us a couple minutes. We'll get set up for the Formula 1. Formula 1, the championship, we have to remember that Jimmy Raikkonen did win the first race in Singapore. Jeff Lewis and Pierre Houd were the other 3 finishers. This does put the championship, the moment, 28 points for Hendrick Motorsports, 27 for McLaren, followed by Aston Martin and Hot Wheels Racing at 20. And then there's a big gap to the other teams, but it's been only one race. Who are we looking for at the moment for this race?
Well, I think you got to look at the 2 guys who finished at the top in the last one. In Lewis, who very well could have won the race if it weren't for the back markers, and Jimmy Raikkonen, who did an expert job getting through whoever it was that was in front of him, who won the race. And then that Aston Martin, the Hoots had pretty good races, I thought. And I think the Aston Martin looks like a good car to begin with, but pretty much if it's got a Ferrari engine in it, I'm looking out for them. The Ferraris, the McLarens, and the Hendricks in particular.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm looking at the driver stats at the moment, and the people for me who are standing out the most are Maple Stroop Racing's Furious Chicken, who seems to be, very heavily invested in momentum tracks. We have Michael Selich from McLaren, who also seems to be there. But I mean, don't count out Ferrari. Both Hennessy and Brooks have look to be poised for a strong race here. I mean, it is their home race for Ferrari, and they seem to have heavily invested in speed on the car as well. So it's a fast track. We know that. We saw it. It might be a very strong showing from Ferrari today.
Yeah,
fast cars, fast drivers, fast engines.
Yeah, I would have to say I think Ferrari's favorites for today. I know that they were looking forward to this race, and both drivers I know were ready for this race, and I think that they want to bounce back from last week and get on that podium.
Well, and the fans too. It's always great to get in front of you at your home.
So, reminder that the F1 race is dry. It is 34 laps, and it's 2 laps of qualifying. So that'll be interesting to see who can keep the momentum and maybe go for a warm-up lap and then a race lap, or if it's going to be 2 fast laps, and maybe you salvage a mistake there because you clipped. So, yeah.
Well, with these tires the way they are, I think you just go full pelt for 2 of them.
Yeah, the question typically is in watching them is how they use the turbo / DRS, what we're calling it, because you'll see some of them use it in certain areas and some of them don't use it, and obviously that's the simulation controlling when they're using it or not. But at that same point, I've seen some of them wait till the second lap to use all of it instead of just part of it during one lap.
Also, it charges progressively, so maybe it is better to hold it off for 1 lap and then you have more for the second lap. But, qualifying is about to be underway as they round out the last corner and now onto the start-finish straight. And we're off.
And no real shock, it's the Ferraris out front immediately, and you can already see that these guys are staying on a nice dry track. Qualifying versus the F2 qualifying, where we had him everywhere. Hennessy leads out front. Lewis was right there with him until that last corner. Now it's the Ferraris that are firm in the qualifying shootout. They will take...
As the drivers pass the start-finish line, we do see after 1 lap, both Ferraris are in the lead, followed by Lewis.
Yeah, right now it's going to be an all-Ferrari front row, and it looks pretty easy for him.
But Fierce Chicken seems to have had a very good back straight there.
Yeah, I think he waited. I think he just used all of his turbo. I think Lewis is using some too,
Jeez.
and Jeff Lewis is actually going to take pole. Chicken and Shettle. That second lap clearly faster than the first one.
Absolutely,
Wow.
and I think some of these drivers there did hold on to their turbo to just use it all on the second lap, and that just pushed them just ahead of the Ferraris.
I
So
think
it's Jeff
Ferrari.
Lewis. Jeff
Okay.
Lewis from Shettle from Chicken.
Yeah, I think Ferrari might have used some on both laps, but yeah, you're right. Some of these guys, I think Lewis in particular, just used it all on that one lap, possibly after Lewis made a mistake before Ascari just out of the Lesmos just decided that he was going to hold everything back and use it out with Parabolica on that final lap after if he was clean, and he was. So Lewis
But also,
on
let's
pole.
talk about these gaps. I mean, first, second, and third are all within 0.05. It's an extremely close qualifying.
Oh, Jimmy Raikkonen, not a good race. McLaren down in 16th. Qualifying, not a good start for the race. Down in 16th. So the F1 and F2 previous race winners do not look good for round number 2.
Yeah, I mean, the other person down there is Carpentier in 15th. Who, yeah, I mean, was a top 5 finisher last race and is now 15th. So, there is some turnover compared to last race, and it's going to be nice to see who's going to lead out as we go racing.
All right, now that we're ready, let's go to roll.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're off. Shettle with a very strong start
Shettle
takes
gets
the
on
lead.
inside. Then there's Hennessy, followed by Chicken. Chicken trying to get around Shettle. Shettle picked the medium compounded tire. Lewis picked the softs. Chicken picked the softs as well. Lewis will get through the Ascari chicane first, go around Parabolica right now, and lead the first lap, followed by Chicken. Then Brooks and Shettle are very close. Now Brooks going up underneath it. Chicken on the medium tire. And we are 3 wide!
3 wide at the Lesmos. That is ridiculous. Brooks does take the lead coming to Ascari. And down
It's
the
a
back
miracle they
straight.
didn't crash.
But Chicken is furiously holding on to the first place. Important to see is honestly much cleaner by the Formula One drivers in terms of keeping away from the grass and the sand and just less bumping into each other.
That's amazing. The Formula 2s on the wet track couldn't keep it on when they were single file, and 3 of these guys went 3 wide.
As now we do have both Ferraris in the lead, Hennessy from Brooks. Shettle in third for Mercedes, followed by Fierce Chicken for Maple Stroop. Right? And then
There's stuff wrong with Hennessy there.
Lewis,
Really
we have this pack of 5 drivers that is breaking away from the rest, and then you have the followers from 6th place onwards.
Well, Lewis has fallen off big time. Maybe just some one-lap pace there. Oh, who got thrown into the wall by Burkhardt? There's going to be a meeting in that hauler after the race.
Yeah, Burkhardt, who was our preseason, quote-unquote champion, performing really well in both test races. A bit less well, yes, last race in Singapore, but that is kind of to be expected.
So, and here it is, the 2 Ferraris parading out in front in the lead, both on a medium tire. The guys who started on the soft, Chicken Lewis, they kind of fell off quite quickly. Those soft compound tires, perhaps not preferred around this track here at Monza. They don't last very long. They only get you 5 or 6 laps here. They look like they're already falling off the cliff.
And if we observe the second Lesmo there, we do see a lot of drivers just clipping the outside of the corner now. As tires, you can see the softs are already down to about a third of their health. Medium's at about a half, 7 laps in. I'd be expecting some drivers to do the switch to hard tires sooner rather than later.
Oh, Lewis doesn't. He goes back out onto the soft compound tires, as does Chicken. So they are committed to go fast and ask questions later. maybe more pit stops. I think.
But we do have Hennessy going into the pit for the first Ferrari in. And Hennessy does come out with soft tires, I think? No, he's back on mediums.
Well, I would assume Brooks comes now. Yeah, they gave Hennessy for pit. Ferrari strategy and Carvalho and Ree coming in as well.
Carvalho and Ree in the pits, but the race is progressing fairly smoothly. I was expecting more rubbing, considering what we saw in Singapore, but
well, there was a lot of rubbing in there between Chicken and Ree, as Chicken was really trying to get the cat out of the bag and get hunting down Brooks here, as he is right now, because Brooks went off trying to get around Joba, and no, Brooks is going to go into the pit, so that fight with the back marker was enough to deter him and try and get some clean air, a new leader.
Yeah, Chicken had those softs on and was just able to wheel his way around that track and pick up a lot of time.
A very aggressive strategy from Chicken in the lead, who from soft to soft, whereas Hennessy is in second place from medium to medium, and we have a new person in third place in Serich, who is I think went from soft to mediums for McLaren.
Yeah, so after one pit cycle, got a little bit of a different field than we had at the beginning. Everybody's on different tire strategies. Ferrari strategy qualified there in the low single digits, and now all the way back in 14th at road cycle. Same thing to you.
Just I wanted to point out real quick that Jimmy Räikkönen is stuck around the 16th spot. It's not a race he is too prepared for, as we can see. It was kind of expected that the very top performers of Singapore would not possibly be near the top for this race. Although Lewis seems to have, hung up there.
And Jimmy, he just had to pit again. That's already the second pit stop that Räikkönen has taken.
It is. Hennessy is trying to close the gap. He is under a second from Chicken.
Yeah, there's a little bit of go off there on possibly on the back right there from Chicken and out of the second Lesmo, and he is going to pit. And that was enough of that tire. So let's see what he goes on to here. I'd be surprised if it's the soft
medium
times. It's medium. Yeah, it's good racing tire. It looks like from everybody. Keep it on medium. Brooks on the hard compound tire. He's only pitted once. He is up all the way to be.
Those hards are going to last a long while, and as the drivers ahead of him are going to pit, he's going to make up positions.
Well, I guess I should have said down to P4. Selic has got to come soon.
We do have Brooks now alongside Chicken, who are all three fighting for second place. Chicken just goes through everyone.
That's what we call
Selic. Oh, correct. Just discarded him.
He licked the entire envelope and sent it. But Brooks is with him. So
Hennessy hits the lead. So Chicken will take it back.
But Hennessy is not that far out, and Hennessy is back on mediums, a third medium in a row. So
he loves it.
It's like clockworks.
Here comes Hennessy up to Brooks and goes by. I wonder if there were some team orders there.
I was about to say the same thing. That was a very easy overtake at the end of the sprint.
Yeah, he just ran clean by him. Good place to do it, though. If you're going to do it, that's the right place to do it. Chicken taking absolutely no prisoners whatsoever with Ferrari strategy, just shoving him off the track. Get out of my way.
Yeah. Chicken, I have Hennessy. Both of them are on mediums, and they are, within a second, so we'll see what happens down the road, but I wouldn't be surprised to see as Chicken reaches back markers and uses some of his turbo. Oh, that back marker is really slowing him down. Hennessy is able to close the gap a little bit, I believe.
Well,
and Brooks is now in the pits.
Yeah, finally pitted second time. So it took
a
while.
I quickly saw it. Yeah, Brooks is on hards again.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Brooks make it to the end on those hards.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that a complete two-stop strategy for Brooks there?
But let's take stock of the situation real quick for further down the race order. We do have Shettle in fourth, Selig in fifth, Burkhardt running his own race in sixth, although fairly close to Selig. Devil who we haven't talked much about, is in 7th. What is the rest of the standings you can put them on? We have Pierre Houd in 9th place, Carpentier in 10th, District in 11th, Paul Houd in 12th. So, Aston Martin's around the just the lower end of the points this time around. Topalo in 13th, Carvalho in 14th. De La Torre and Carvalho fighting for 14th and 15th. Ferrari Strategy, who is not on Ferrari, as 16th. Jimmy Raikkonen 17th. A. Jobin 18th. Ree 19th. And Bass 20th.
Well, that was some unkindly teamly racing there for Carvalho and De La Torre. They might have to talk about that. That wasn't very team-friendly.
Moladra must not be too happy about how this race is going, and both drivers are letting us know.
And then you got the Ferraris, as we talked about earlier in Parabolica, very team-friendly passing. That, folks, that was the exact opposite.
Yeah, Hennessy on his mediums going into the pits, and as we see Chicken use all his DRS turbo to try and put it up as big of a gap. They must have told him to push. How are Chicken's tires, by the way?
Well, he did just pit not that long ago. He's in a couple laps ago. He came in there, and then Hennessy and Brooks came off. And now Hennessy is definitely going to the end. He strapped on hard boots there. He can definitely go to the end. We'll see about Hennessy, though. Brooks, I should say. We'll see about Brooks, though. He's going to be quite fallen off.
The question is, can Chicken make it to the end?
Oh, and I don't think so. We got 8 laps to go. He's going to have to pit again. The real question, I think, is when he does come again for soft tires, I can only assume, can he get back to the Ferraris that are on hard?
Well, yeah, and the question there, obviously, the biggest part to that is going to be we saw how the Formula 2 race ended with Wong staying out too long and unable to recapture those positions that he lost. So the question here is going to be is when does Chicken go in? If I was Chicken, I would head in. I would head in now.
I mean, if I'm Chicken's team, I'm looking at the gap, and as soon as it gets too low, I'd go in. Before the damage is irreversible. And you see Chicken here go a bit too wide on the exit. And he has to come in within a lap or two now. He has no choice.
So if you pit now, which you're going to have to, if you pit now, you still pit ahead of Lewis, so you're going to pit back to P3 at the absolute worst. Keep going off, and that lead might come down a little bit. I think Brooks might have to come too. I don't think he's out of the woods.
There we go. Chicken goes into the pits. Hennessy is crossing the start-finish line. Brooks is crossing the start-finish line as Chicken leaves the pits, and the race is on now. This is basically the two Ferraris versus a Chicken.
Now Chicken's going to
fit right back to P3. Brooks just went off. Just went off twice, and Chicken goes clean by. So now it's 5 seconds to the leader, Hennessy, and 5 laps to do it.
Yeah, Chicken's going to have 2 full laps here of full strength on his tires before we'll start seeing those sort of start falling off.
Ooh!
And I mean, Chicken's just passed every single lap car for a bit. He's got a bit of clean air before getting to Hennessy.
Pit, by the way.
And Chicken is using all his DRS. They are
he's coming. He's coming.
That. Yep.
He is inevitable at this point.
He is coming. He just took the fastest lap of the race on that at 19.4.
19.4. That is faster than qualifying.
He was 3 wide, and I was going to hook it around the outside of Hennessy, and sayonara, see you later, thanks for coming. Pick it up and put it down. He is gone. Wow.
He's just using it. As soon as he has a bit of DRS, he is using it.
Jobin big time gotten away there. They clattered hard. I think a couple of guys
don't count Hennessy out, who now uses part of his DRS on that start-finish straight. It's only a second off, but that's the last lap now. And I mean, Chicken does have the tires and the speed, and half a lap left.
For all the talk about the Ferrari favorites, they are not going to go home happy. Chicken wins at Monza.
Yeah, Hennessy does take second, and we do have Brooks rounding out the last corner and will finish third with a solid gap to fourth. And fourth is actually not Lewis anymore, but it's Devil.
I think Lewis pitted really late. Devil didn't. He pitted on mediums a while ago. Track position wins the day for the position of fourth versus that fifth, sixth, seventh fight there.
Yeah. And, we talk about Ferrari with a 2-3 here, but we also need to talk about Devil and Shuttle for Mercedes, 4-6. It's a very good result for the team.
It's a good showing from Mercedes there.
Yeah, and the Hood brothers are coming in to pick up 9th and 10th.
Oh, he went off!
No, he does hold on to it. That was
nobody Tobolo wasn't close enough to it.
So congratulations for Chicken from Maple Stroop Racing. 2 Ferraris then, Hennessy and Brooks, followed by Devil, Lewis, Hendrick Motorsports, Shuttle, Telic, Urquhart for Volkswagen IBM Racing, and finishing with the Hood brothers, Pierre in front of Paul for Aston Martin. And let me take a screenshot and
look at that fast lap with Chicken. I mean,
that was
fast. Straight flying.
That is faster than the qualifying time.
I mean, in a second up on, more than a second up on the second fastest lap.
You can scroll down. I mean, for the disappointments for this race, I mean, we have to look at some of the names that did, teams that did not get any points here. We're talking about Hot Wheels Racing, both Struik and Carpentier, 12th, 13th. Topalo and Jobin for Alpiner, who are 11th and 19th. Moladra, Bellator and Carvalho, not their best showing. And honestly, Jimmy Räikkönen, at the end of the day, we were kind of guessing that, he had heavily invested in reaction, but was kind of not there today.
Well, if you just look at it before the race, you look at the driver rating, race a track much more suited to Selich's skills than Vicodin, and that very much showed during the actual live race. Hot Wheels, though, particularly interesting showing from them in 12th and 13th. But I will say there's only Alpiner, Moladra, and Hot Wheels who did 4 points. So there was 7 teams that scored points today. So the top might have been constructor-wise dominated by Ferrari most of the day, even though not one of them won. But either way, we had 7 in the top 10, 7 different constructors. It was a very even field. Boy, Maple Street P1 and P18. That's an interesting day. That's 2 incredibly different debriefs. One side of the garage, it's the fastest, maybe the fastest lap of the year, and on the other side, it's, hey, buddy, we got to talk about what happened here.
Definitely. Gonna be food for thought, as we'll update the standings and see that for sometime tonight. But I do believe that the F1 is going to be led by Lewis, based on his performance last race and this race. And I think that still keeps Hendrick Motorsports in the lead, but solid points by Ferrari today, who will probably close the gap with the leaders in the Constructor Championship.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting going into week 3. So that's going to be in Spain, which is a focus track. And obviously a skill we haven't used yet. And also one of those, that I know there's a couple people that threw a lot of training into the focus. So I'm sure that will bring us some more surprises and some flips here in regards to the standings.
Yeah, and do you want to let us know when the race is?
Yeah, next week, Monday night, we will be kicking off with Spain at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And then it's going to be a 3-race week next week. So we're going to have Spain, Mexico, and Austria next week on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Sounds good. And from the broadcast team, thank you, Leatherneck Mike, for joining us. And everyone, have a good evening.
Good night, guys.